Okay, guys, I just want to reiterate a couple things that will help if you're just starting your healing journey, or maybe you've been on your healing journey for a while, but there's certain aspects of it you haven't addressed yet. So a couple days ago, I think I did a two-part video series on a subscriber's story on being at the brink of death, which was Ronan's journey. That's his handle. His name's Skye. He had watched it. He had initially hit me up with his story, a little bit of his story, background on what happened to him. He got in a car accident. It pretty much, that was his rock bottom. It took his feet out from under him, made him incapacitated. Cried out to Jesus for help for months and months, and Jesus did nothing. Nobody, never came for him, never did anything for him. And he had a vision and an epiphany, and then figured out that religion and all that horse shit was completely false, and he had to take it upon himself and start figuring this out. So this was, a couple years ago, and he's been on his journey, and he's got a YouTube channel. I found him like a year ago, and was very encouraged and inspired by his honesty and his courage that he displayed by sharing his story and being open. And you could see just the confusion and trying to figure things out. Like he was working on it. He was trying to critically think. And so anyways, he shared his story. And in sharing his story, I had pointed out that because he was really struggling with the trusting in himself, and if he's even worthy to trust, and he's scared of himself, and those types of things, which are completely normal, again, guys, because all the programmings, the abusive traumatic and abusive programs that we were placed on at birth were meant to put us in our ego. We're meant to create that separation from soul and body. We're meant to put us in fight or flight. We're meant to put us in survival mode. This is all mechanism. This is just the way the brain works, guys. It's just the way it works. There's no getting around it. There's no going, well, maybe that's what you think, but I think, well, I don't give a fuck what you think, because you're a fool and you're running off of programs and your addictions and your ego, and I don't want to hear it. I could care less what you think. If you think it works differently than that, that's exactly how it works. And you have to bring it back to birth, because the brain was the same then as it is now. The government's been experimenting with mind control, and that's the way they do it. They split the brain through traumatic and abusive experiences, and they create alters. The only way the ego exists in the first place is being brought into toxic environments, traumatic, abusive programming, toxic social structures, toxic cultures, toxic environments, everything non-conducive to biological life, non-conducive to spirit, and that is how they get that separation. That is just the way it works, period. There's no getting around it. No getting around it. There's no equivocation on it. There's no, well, it might be like this. No, that's exactly how it is. And until you come to terms with it, you're not going to change anything. You're just going to be building on ego, changing up egos, building alter egos, and all of that. So, he shared his story, and he watched it, and he left me this comment. Thank you very much for these videos, Richard. It finally clicked that I'm already strong. I'm already on the right path, and I've already trusted myself with my choices. And see, that's what I went into with him was, dude, because it's very obvious to other people, the things that you can't see, especially if you're down and out, or you're having a hard time, or if you have blockages, or you still got a veil over your eyes, or you're still in the fog, if you haven't gotten far enough in your healing to be able to clear out this stuff. If you're around other people, other humans who are a little farther in their journey of healing and have done these things, the introspection that they can give you back, and the things that they see and the things that you say, are so obvious. So he was saying how he's so doubtful about this trust in himself and if he's worthy and all these things. But after watching the two videos and getting that feedback from another human, he realized that he was already on the right path. He's already strong, and he's already trusted himself with choices. And see, so he had already done these things, but he didn't think he did. And he didn't think he was worthy, so that's all he just needed, was someone to point out, yes, you have. Because again, now I guess he grew up in a Christian environment, or at least was imbued with Christianity at some point in time. And so those types of religions and these ideologies, what they do is, in order to build the group up, they have to bury the individual. They have to shame, guilt, and belittle the individual in order to get them in line, in order for them to freely give up their power and not question the authority of the group, or the group think, or the mind think, or the slave think, or the programming, or anything else, because it's all false. It's all illusion in groups is a completely illusion. The only thing that matters is the individual. So we're on that programming. So that's all that those videos did. It helped clear up that programming for him, that residual, because he had already broken free from that programming. He just had that residual fog and that residual veil, and he couldn't see that he had already taken these steps that that proved his inner strength, and that his inner knowing and inner trust in himself. And he just needed to be pointed out. Dude, you've already got it. You're not trying to attain. You're not trying to attain anything. We aren't trying to, through this healing journey, we aren't trying to attain anything. All we are doing is reclaiming, remembering, renewing. That's all we are doing, because these things have been stolen from us, and they've been hidden from us, and we've been lied and manipulated to and programmed to think that we never had these things, and they don't exist when they do. So we're just remembering that they do, and then remembering how to trust ourselves, and it's in that process. I saved myself alone, he says. Yep, not Jesus, not any of that, not his friend. That because he had a friend that popped up out of nowhere that he also said had helped him. He couldn't have done it without this friend. And I just I reiterated, dude, you did it by yourself. That's nice that your friend was there to console and comfort and share and have human contact with, but you got to be careful, again, because of the whole how the Matrix sends these people, and then us traumatized and abused people are so we're so giving, and so used to people pleasing, and so used to having shame and guilt, and so used to belittling ourselves, because that's what we've been taught abusively and traumatically, that when anybody else is somehow involved, we want to give all the credit to them. And that's what he was doing. He was automatically saying, without my friend, I never would have survived. And I was just reminding him, I was like, that's great, your friend was there. But no, it had nothing to do with your friend. You could have done it with or without that friend. You could have, and just be careful from here on out about that friend if that friend is not taking the proper steps to heal. I couldn't even say I love you, Skye, in my mind without crying. So again, guys, if you're just starting out on or you're deep in it, whatever, but you just haven't done the child work aspect of it, what I recommend is to look in the mirror, right? Get a mirror, sit down in a quiet place, nobody around, all by yourself, no distractions, no music, no TV, nothing, and look yourself deep in the eyes, and as serious as you can be, and as meaningful as you can be from the bottom of your heart, and with all your soul, with all your being, look yourself straight in the eye and say, I love you, Richard. You're worthy. You are all-knowing, Richard. And you trust yourself. I love you. I love you. Thank you for taking care of yourself, Richard. And just, you could say anything along those lines, but you got to say, I love you in your name. And so I mentioned that in that video, and that what that'll do is that helps you realize how far unhealed you are and how much healing you need to do and how bad things really are and how much you hate yourself. Because the first time I did it, I couldn't even get half of I went, I love just started bawling like a baby. Couldn't even get it out. And so that was the day, and that was last year, just last year, I realized that I hated myself for 43 years of my life here on earth. I had hated myself. Now, I don't shame myself for that. It was beaten into me through abuse and trauma, through the separation of soul and body, through the initiation of ego. The ego doesn't know love. The ego knows love as in a lustful love, as in a clinging love, as in a jealous love, but the ego does not know what love is, true love. And neither will you and neither will I until we do this healing and start treating ourselves right and stop abusing ourselves and stop ingesting poisons, because people who love themselves and care about themselves are not going to intentionally toxify and poison themselves. So it's an alignment. You got to get through all these healing things in order to align thoughts, words, actions, truth, live in truth, fact, and reality, and not have any conflict there. And there's no more conflict in the head. There's no more alter egos. There's no more confusion. There's no more going outside yourself for the answers. There's no more of any of that. And then we slowly, through trusting ourselves and giving our time and attention and energy to ourselves, we, remember what it means to love ourselves and to care about ourselves. And we will learn what love is for the first time. So I went over that in that video for him. And he says, I couldn't even say I love you, Skye, in my mind without crying. So he literally was just sitting there and tried saying it in his mind, and he couldn't do it and started crying. This was just yesterday, 21 hours ago, he left this message. So this man is on this journey right now. These are the breakthroughs he's having right now as we speak. There is something powerful here. And see, when you do that, you realize, oh shit, because then you realize the truth. It breaks down so many programs and so many so much of that illusion where you were like, thinking there were other things to life that this matrix has, thrown out there to say that this is important, that's important, the group's important, that, this. You got to be involved in all of this. You got to save money for retirement. You got to work a job. You got to do good at your job. You got to pass tests. You got to be compliant. You got to obey the laws. You got to drive a car. All of this shit. And so when you do this one thing alone, it, like he said, there is something powerful here. And that's what I said, and that's what anybody says that will do that one simple step of trying to tell yourself that you love yourself. Look in the mirror. Sit down and look in the mirror. And he didn't even do that. He tried just saying it in his head, and it was like, because you realize, and that with that realization, and because you are on your journey and you have taken back your authority, and you're no longer worshiping gods and saviors and politicians and entertainment and celebrity and teachers and experts and all that shit. Now you are trusting yourself. So when you take that step, you realize what your next step is. It all becomes clear. Things start lining up. You deal with the next thing, and then the next thing opens up. You're starting to get rid of anxiety. You're starting to get rid of, the need for attention and the need for groups and the need for validation and the need for all of these things. And you start learning to trust yourself. Again, through personal responsibility, discipline, courage, and honesty. You're right that now is the time to go even deeper than I did before. Yep. Because I told him, I said, he said he went through this deep, dark spot in his life, and that he had pulled himself out of it, but not really all the way. But I told him, dude, you need to jump back in there. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we've been trained to be afraid of the dark. Why are we afraid of the dark? Because it's the unknown. Why are we afraid of the unknown? Because we were born into the unknown. When our bodies were born into the unknown, we were traumatized and abused and split from our soul and ego activated, and it's scary. That was scary enough. So once the ego's activated, it clings to the known over the unknown, no matter what the unknown might bring, no matter how good that change could be or anything else. So it's so important through this healing journey, you learn not to be afraid of the dark. You make the dark part of you. You reclaim the dark. You jump into the dark. You immerse yourself in the dark, because what that does is it shuts off all your other senses, and you have to learn to trust yourself, because the only sense that you have access to is your intuition, your inner being. And then you learn to listen to yourself. Then you learn to address all of these things that you've been running away from, all your racing thoughts. You start addressing each one thoroughly. You pull the monster out from under the bed, and you fucking slap them around and have a conversation with them. You call the demons out and tell them to fucking stand in front of you when you fucking defeat them. And you realize how powerful you are. So yeah, he said, I've realized that now I need to go even deeper than I did before. And he's exactly right. I have to go all the way and push past everything. Yes. Yep. All distractions, copes, programmings, etc. Yes. All the distractions, because that is the matrix programming. All these copes, all these distractions, all these programs is to keep us away from that unknown, to act like they're giving us the safety net because they're the light and they're going to keep us safe in the light, when really that is the trap. We need to get away from that fucking false safety net of the light and jump into the depths of the darkness, where we are, where our soul is, where our essence is to be found. I'm beginning to see how I sabotage myself, which is awesome introspection. That is how he's going to grow now, because he's seen the mechanisms by which he sabotages himself. Thanks again for these videos, and I hope others are able to connect well into the future. So yeah, you're very welcome, Ronan. Your story, thank you for sharing again, for your courage, your honesty. It's already inspired people. It's encouraging people. I know it encourages the hell out of me. So yeah, guys, this is so important. Please continue to share your stories. I mean, every single story I've done for people now, they immediately are having breakthroughs right after. Guys, this is so powerful. So if you have not shared your story, if you are afraid to share your story, it means that you have a huge way to go in your healing, and that this matrix is trying to, in your ego is blocking you and making you afraid to share your story and to reach out, because there's no reason not to. If you are having stumbling blocks, if you're hitting stumbling blocks, if you are having things that you just can't break through, and you're stuck on this plateau on your healing journey, you need to reach out and share your stories. That way, like with Ronan, with Skye here, he shared his story, and then all of a sudden he realized, once he got that feedback from another human, a human who's not judging, but just opening up his perspective, so that way he can see what others can see, but he can't see. That's right there in front of him. That's there the whole time, that he had the power. He was doing the things. He can trust himself. He is the one. And that's all he needed. And so by sharing your story, it can open up these things for you too, because this wasn't even 21 hours ago he left this comment, and I guarantee you he's knee deep in healing, neck deep in healing right now. The life-changing. I mean, doing some life-changing stuff where, 5 days ago he was banging his head against the wall going, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? So it's very enlightening, very eye-opening, guys. Again, I encourage you to share your story. For those of you who have, thank you so much. Again, you are, through your courage and taking responsibility of yourself and being open and honest, you are encouraging and inspiring others. So thank everybody for joining in the communication channels back and forth. And again, if you need to contact me privately and you want to keep your name and your handle private and you don't want me to mention that, I can share your story without your name and your handle, and nobody will know who you are, but it'll benefit you. And I can, let you shoot you an email and let you know once your video's posted, so that way you know that video's about you. And you can get it that way anonymously. That's fine too. People just want that truth, because truth resonates with humans, no matter how crazy and out there your fucking story is. And you're afraid because you've been mocked and ridiculed and put down and looked at with disdain and called a liar and a manipulator by your so-called friends and family, your toxic friends and family you've been surrounded your whole life with, that tell you love you. They love you, but they won't fucking, they don't give a fuck about you. These people, these strangers, actually care, because we're humans and we're on our journey, and by you sharing, it is encouraging everybody because we resonate with it. We aren't doubting that your story's real. There's no reason for somebody to come onto a small YouTube channel that with complete strangers and share their inner darkest shit, and for nothing. You know what I mean? This is not for nothing. We aren't, this isn't for ego. This isn't to prop ourselves up, obviously, because these are horrible stories we're all telling. This isn't, to get fame and fortune. This isn't to get a following. This isn't any of that. This is to break through on healing and give others encouragement on theirs. That's as simple as it is. So remember, guys, take care of yourself, because nobody else will.